This Elite Eight run was not just another random good year by a basketball team. No, Clemson basketball is a program that's going to continue to thrive, continue to improve, and get better. And this is going to be a program that you're going to see again in late March real soon.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Clemson podcast. I am John Bivens. I'm your host. You can follow me over on Twitter or X at I am John Bivens. You can follow me right there. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Clemson your first listen. To all the everydayers, we appreciate you. We are free and available wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever it's at. We're also over on YouTube for free where you can receive video content. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network where it is your team every day. Here on the Locked On Clemson podcast, we are all sports, all passion, and all of the time, where we are letting you know everything you need to know regarding Clemson sports and Clemson athletics. Today is Tuesday, April 30th, and Clemson basketball is coming off an amazing season. It was just over a month ago that we made that run deep into March Madness, and made an outstanding run in the tournament to the Elite Eight. That season had their ups, had some downs. Today, we're going to go through some of the best moments from this past season, and we're going to talk about more than just, this was a cool moment. We're not just going to be like, oh, yeah, that was so much fun. It was a really fun season, and we want to enjoy that. It's going to be one that we look back on and remember it for a long time. But I want to do more than that. You see, today, I want to go through, and I want us to really dive into why was these moments important. We're going to dive into specific games that, yes, had some great moments. A lot of them are wins. There's a couple losses in here. But I want to talk about why it's important for us looking forward. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about P.J. Hall because there's a good chance we're not going to see P.J. Hall in a Clemson uniform again. We're not going to talk about Joe Girard a lot because we're not going to see him in a Clemson uniform. Chase Hunter's up in there. We're not going to talk about him a lot. We're going to talk about the pieces, the people, the program itself on why Clemson basketball is going to make it back to the Elite Eight. Why Clemson basketball is going to return back to that moment. The bottom line is this. Clemson just came off a season where they tied the best and the farthest that they've ever made it. We don't want to wait as long as we had to. The first time we made the Elite Eight was many years ago. We don't want to wait that long. And I think if Brad continues to grow how he's growing, if Clemson continues to track on the track that it's on, I don't think we're going to have to wait that long. And so there are certain games, there are certain moments that really highlight where I'm getting this from, where my thoughts are coming from, why I believe that we're not going to wait that long until we have to make a deep run again. And so we're going to hit that. We're going to hit it hard, and that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what's happening. That's what's going on. So first game that I want to bring it to your attention. The first game we want to just bring up on today's podcast is this: that first time we played Alabama. The first time we played Alabama was a huge game for the momentum for the season of Clemson basketball. We played them on Tuesday, November 28th. We won 85-77. Man, that was a fun game. That was a great one. We played a great one, right? Different players had their points. Like the different players put out great performances. P.J. Hall, of course, shined. Joe Girard shined. Ian Schieffelin had 14 rebounds in this game. 14 rebounds. Went crazy. Played really good, had some great defense. Jack Clark, this was one of the first games that he played a lot, but we're not going to talk about him a lot because he's gone. Dylan Hunter played 18 minutes this game. Didn't have a lot of stats, but he played some serious minutes, played well. Chauncey Wiggins played a lot of minutes. Again, not a lot of stats because other people were taking all the stats. But the reason why I think it's important, you're like, yeah, that was a cool game. So what? What's the point of that? Here's why I think that's important. Alabama going into this game, they both were undefeated. Alabama was ranked pretty high up in the nation in most of the rankings. In KenPom, they were like top 5 almost the entire year, really high in that. The reason why I think this was important is this. When Alabama went into this game, they had a certain play style. When Alabama went into this, they were known for a couple things. They were known for getting a lot of possessions in the game, shooting a lot of shots, and not playing a lot of defense. They were going to run, they were going to run, and they were going to run. They were going to push the ball, they were going to move it. They wanted short possessions. They had like the second shortest shot clock average, seconds off the shot clock in the game. That was the second least amount. They knew how to run. That's what they wanted to do, and that's what they made everybody play. When you look back at their games, they made people run. They got people out of rhythm. They got people in the system of, run down the court, throw up a shot, and you're done. That's how they won. That's how they were good. Clemson came in, and we're a team that didn't really have an identity of what pace we like to play. We just like to play at our pace. If it was a game we felt like we should run quick, they ran. If it was a game that we felt like we should hold back a little bit and play slower, that's what they did. And that's how Clemson beat Alabama. They walked in, and the biggest thing I want to talk about here is Brad showed that he can stick with and dominate great opponents, great coaches away from Little John, and can outcoach them. Not only did he outperform him, not only did our team outperform him, Brad outcoached Alabama. He went and he coached. We played our play style. We slowed them down. They had multiple more possessions, or there was a lot less possessions than what they were used to. We forced them to use time off the shot clock. We slowed down, played half-court ball. We showed, and Brad showed, that he could outcoach other opponents. Looking into the future, that's Coach Brownell that we need. We don't need the Brownell that can't recruit. We don't need the Brownell that struggles with timeouts. We need the Brownell that can outcoach almost anyone. And Alabama shows that he has that in him. Looking into the future, we want that Brad. If that Brad continues to show, if that Coach Brownell comes out, which I know he's going to, he did all year, most of the year, there's a lot of excitement to be around Clemson basketball. A lot of excitement. So the Alabama game, I think, is a huge momentum shift. The second game I want to bring up, and it's I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one because I think it tells a similar story, is a couple games after that Alabama game, we beat Pittsburgh, we beat South Carolina at home, and then we went to a neutral site in Canada and played TCU. We played them in Ontario. It was a part of the Champions Classic. It was a big game, right? And TCU was kind of like Alabama. They like to keep the ball moving, and we ended up winning that game 74-66. The reason I bring this one up, the reason that I think this one is important for us, is it brings hope because it shows that Brad has ability to make significant changes when it comes into coaching corrections. When we went into halftime against TCU, we were up by 1 point, and we had turned the ball over a good amount. And then we took a big lead, and TCU started coming back. They turned a 15-point lead into, I think, 5 or 6. They brought it back into 2 possessions. Once that happened, Brad called a timeout, which I love to see him calling timeouts. For sometimes I feel like he thinks he can take them with him to the next game. There's sometimes I'm like, Brad, use your timeout. But he used the timeout. He got the team together, and he said, look, we're turning the ball over. We got to stop that. Hold on to the ball. Stop giving away free points. He made that crucial decision with about 14 minutes left. After that, we thrived. Our turnovers plummeted, the amount of turnovers we were getting. It really showed the reason this game I'm bringing this is Alabama game shows that Brad can outcoach. TCU game shows that Brad's can make in-game adjustments that lead to dominating wins. In-game adjustments that lead to dominating wins and outcoaching the opponents are a huge recipe for success. These 2 games alone, I know they were early. They were against really good teams. One was a Final Four team that beat us in the Elite Eight. One was a potential tournament team, like 2 really good teams that Brad showed that he can coach with, he can stick with, he can make the adjustments. That's why these 2 games are really important for us, and it shows Clemson is not a team that just had a lucky run this year. We're not a Loyola Chicago from a couple years ago. No, we're in this. We're turning this into an annual thing. We're making March runs. The days of Clemson, are we going to make the tournament? I think they're in the past. I think we're in. I think we're a team that's going to make it consistently 3 out of 4 years, every 4 years. That's exciting. That's exciting. We should be excited as Clemson fans. In just a moment, we're going to continue this conversation, and we are going to go into talking more about what other games that are important to provide hope for the future. We're going to continue that in just a second. NBA playoffs are in full swing, and I'm a huge Denver Nuggets fan. Played last night against the Lakers. They are playing really well right now. I would love to go to Denver and just get to go to a game in the Mile High City. And if I ever do, I know where I'm going to buy the tickets. It's going to be to one of our proud sponsors here of Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. We all know Denver's going to go far. We know they're going to. I think they're going to repeat. Jokic is one of the greatest players we've ever seen. How cool would it be to be able to go see Jokic play in the playoffs? How cool would it be able to go see him and Jamal tearing up the defense, slicing up the zone, slicing up coverage, right? Some of my favorite things. I would love to go see that. I'd love to be a part of that. And Gametime provides a way for that to happen. Some of my favorite things about Gametime is I love the fact if you're ever a last-minute decision making, you get 60% off when buying last-minute tickets. I also love the fact that almost every single seat just before you buy it will give a panoramic shot of your seat so you know what to expect. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app now, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your number one place to bet on every game. I'm telling you, folks, FanDuel is number one sportsbook in America, so you shouldn't waste any time trying any of those other apps. So here's what I need you to do. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Yes, I said $150. That's $150 win or lose. And I'm telling you, can bet on anything because right now is the perfect time. Like I mentioned, the playoffs going on. NHL playoffs is going on. Baseball is going crazy right now. So you can bet on anything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks and much, much more. All on the app that's super safe, secure, and super easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON, and make your first bet an automatic win because FanDuel is America's number one sportsbook.
Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson podcast. I'm your host, John Bivens. Find us over on Twitter over there. Look, Clemson's going to make it back to late March, and this season showed some moments of that. It showed some moments where we'll be able to get to those amazing moments and where optimism, where we can have hope for Clemson basketball in the future. There's also some moments that's like, I'm kind of worried about that. We're going to talk about all that tomorrow. The moments it's like we've got to fix these things before next year. That'll be all on tomorrow's episode. So make sure you're looking out for that tomorrow, Wednesday, April or May 1st. But now moving on, let's stay positive. Let's keep this vibe going, this upgoing vibe. What are some games that show us what we can look forward to? The one I want to talk about now is the third game. The third game that we have, or the third game we're talking about is the first time we played UNC. That first game against UNC was one that was, when we're looking at it, it was disappointing. Let's be real. When we're looking at this game, it was one that's like, oh, that hurts. It was a physical game. It was at Little John. I remember we were sitting on our season tickets. I wasn't on Media Row that one. I wanted to be with the fans. You know, sometimes Media Row's fun. I love the guys that are sitting up there, but sometimes there's just something about being with the fans, hearing the yells, doing the chants, screaming, you know? So I was in the fans at that one on our season tickets. And as we're sitting there and as we're going through it, I'm sitting beside a Carolina fan. In front of us is Carolina fans and then Clemson fan all around us. Man, it was exciting. It was physical. We lost that game. It was a close game the whole time. We couldn't make a shot. We shot terribly from three. Our guards were off. PJ Hall was off. It was a rough game. It was a rough start for us. I'm not going to hide that. And it was rough because our players weren't playing. It wasn't like Carolina was just dominating. They were scoring almost 80 points a game, and we held them to 65. When it comes to defense, you can't ask for much more than what we provided that game. What's great about it, what hurts is obviously our shooting. We ended up shooting 1 for 18 on the 3-point that night. Our only 3 came from Chauncey Wiggins, who shot 1 for 4. But the thing that I want to talk about, you might ask, why are you talking about a loss? Well, how does that bring hopefulness? Here's how. Ian Schieffelin was our star that game. Chase Hunter scored 17 points. Ian Schieffelin only had 16. But when you look at Ian Schieffelin's stat line, here's what he did that night. You ready? He played 33 minutes, almost 34 minutes, shot 5 for 8, 6 for 7 from the free throw line. No one else shot as high as a percentage as him. He had 11 rebounds, only had 1 foul, had 2 assists, only 1 turnover. He had 4 blocks and 5 steals. That means he caused 9 different possession changes with a block and a steal, because every single block he had was rebounded by Clemson. 9 different possessions. 9 possessions. He stopped it, prevented points, and caused Clemson to be able to have an extra possession. That's a potential 18 points. Carolina shot a total shooting percentage of, let's see, what did they shoot on the shooting percentage? They shot just under 30 or under 50%. So say out of those 9 possessions, they make half of them. They make 4 or 5 of them. Okay, that's anywhere from 8 to 15 points that Ian Schieffelin single-handedly prevented by a blocking or a steal. That's huge. And then he paired all that with also 16 points. Ian Schieffelin led us that night, in a night that our stars weren't playing well. PJ Hall was off. PJ Hall only had 10 points on the night. And honestly, it wasn't a pretty 10 points. Chase Hunter was playing well, but he still missed a lot. He shot 0 for 4 from the 3. Joe Girard went 1 for 10. Chauncey Wiggins 2 for 7. Jack Clark didn't play. RJ Godfrey 1 for 2. Our stars didn't play. Our players weren't performing, and yet Ian Schieffelin still kept fighting, still kept being physical. Ian Schieffelin is a player that can lead us to the future. Ian Schieffelin is a player that we know can be there and can lead us. And next year, he's going to have to. No matter if PJ Hall comes back or not, no matter if Chase Hunter comes back or not, no matter what transfers we get in, which we'll talk about in future episodes, Ian Schieffelin, we need to be a leader role this upcoming season. And this game, the first game against Carolina, shows that he has that. He's got that in him. He's got that dog. He's got that talent. He's got that skill. He's got the leadership in him. So that's why this game is so important to us. That's why that first Carolina game, and what that brings us hope, because we know Ian Schieffelin can lead us. The fourth game that we want to talk about, moving on, just keep going through this list, is we're not going too far. The fourth game we want to talk about is a quick one. It's that second game against UNC. And that was a great win. We were at that game. We were at the Dean Dome. Environment was killer. Clemson led the entire game. They tied it up late with like 5 minutes left, but we still led. The entire game, never fell behind. It was just a great win from beginning to end. The reason that provides hope is a lot of people think that we still struggle against Carolina, especially after we lost that one in Littlejohn. It was like, yeah, we beat them a couple years ago in Carolina, but we still stink against them. No, that's over. We can remove that from our thoughts. We can remove that from our fears. We can get rid of all of that. We've shown, hey, we're serious. We can play against them. We can beat them. So it shows that Carolina isn't just this team that's going to dominate us from now on. No, it's a team we can win. And so that's encouraging. That's hopeful. And then the fifth game, where there's a total of 6 games. The fifth game I want to talk about was the second game against Georgia Tech. And this is another one that's going to bring hope on Brad. So the first game we played against Georgia Tech, they beat us in double overtime. They beat us. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't the greatest game. It wasn't too great. Like, they went at double overtime. We should have won that game. We were leading late and let them come back, and we just couldn't do anything. We ended up losing by 3 points in double overtime. Well, that game was on January 16th at Littlejohn. Later on in the season, just over a month, February 21st, we went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta, and we went out there and smoked them. We won 81-57. The reason I'm talking about this game, some of you are like, it was Georgia Tech. They didn't have a great year. It shows right now Brad can learn and he can readjust. Talked about in Alabama, Brad can outcoach. Talk about in TCU, Brad can make in-game adjustments. Now we're talking about now Brad can learn from the past and readjust and dominate. He can show, he identified the areas that we lost to Georgia Tech, identified what we did wrong, which is we let them score. We let them be way too comfortable at the three-point line, way too comfortable with the ball in their hand. So we gave up 93 points. What does he follow that up with? Allowing less than 60 the next time we played. it provides hope. It gives us optimism about the future, and it lets us know, hey, Brad is a coach, Coach Bradnell. It puts some respect on his name. He is one that can learn and can readjust and can provide future success, even if we've already lost to a team. And so that is the 5th game. There's only one more we want to talk about. In just a moment, we're going to highlight that 6th game that provides hope for the future, as well as we're going to kick off a new segment called Tracking Tuesday. We will talk about all that and more in just a moment. All right, game off. We got to pause here. We got to talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. We're in the middle of this. No, hear me out. There's so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock, and there's so much to get. You can get unique stickers that you can trade with your friends to complete for different big prizes. You can get cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. You can get hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own mini games like digging for treasure or a robot machine. And there's always new time events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover and something fun to do in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, go download it now free on the Google Play or App Store. Again, Monopoly Go, a lot of fun, great competition. You can download it for free on the Google Play or the App Store. Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson show or podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. Look, we're ending the show with 2 things. We're going to talk about the last game that provides optimism and hope and a confidence in our future basketball. And then we're going to talk about this new segment called Tuesday Tracking. And so the last game we want to talk about is very simple. Guys, we beat the number 2 seed in our seed in Arizona in the Sweet 16. We went out there. It wasn't a game that was like we never got too far behind. We played really, really good. That was a great game. And what this does is it proves to us that Brad is not intimidated by rankings. He's not intimidating by predictions or scores. He's not intimidated by Las Vegas and the game odds. He's not anything like that. He is not intimidated by the name on the jersey. Brad is a coach that focuses on his players. He can get players lit up. He can get players on fire. He can get them energized. He can get them excited. He can get them focused on what's happening. Brad is a coach for the players that knows his players. He knows how to get his team going. Alabama, I know people are being like, oh, you say that, but then we lost Alabama the next week. We lost Alabama because they made shots. It came down to they made more shots than we did. They really hit from the 3. We really struggled. They had a great field goal percentage. Ours was average. That's why they beat us, not because of skill, not because of anything like that. The Arizona game, that Sweet 16 game, we beat the number 2, who was a number 1 seed at many times, had a outstanding, one of the most talented team all around. I would say Duke was the most talented team from top to bottom last year, and I would say Arizona's number 2. And we beat the second, in my opinion, the second most talented team from top to bottom last year. We beat them in the Sweet 16. That's hope. That's optimism. Yes, we beat them based on players' performances, but we beat them. Our coach coached them to do that. Coach Brad Burnell coached them to do that. So there's optimism there. There's hope there. There's a future there. There's things to get excited about there. So all those things are things to be excited about when it comes to the future of Clemson basketball and this program. It's things to get ready for. It's things to get ready and excited for. I can't wait. And I hope you can't. I hope you're ready for it. I hope you're on the bus. I hope you're excited. Clemson basketball is going to be for real. This is a long off season before they come back. We're going to talk about prospects, about transfers, about all that different stuff. But we're going to talk about how next year is going to be really special watching them. Now we're going to transition and we're going to end the show with our last segment. It is a new segment. Yesterday we kicked off a new segment for every Monday, and now it's called the Monday Momentum. Now we're kicking off a new segment called Tracking Tuesday. Every single Tuesday, we're going to end the episode. Sometimes it'll be quick 30-second updates. Sometimes it'll be a couple minutes. It could be a whole 10-minute session. But every single Tuesday, we're going to talk about our latest developments with key recruits, with regular updates on recruit progressions in their decisions. We're going to go through different sports. We're going to talk about baseball recruits, basketball recruits, football recruits. We're going to go through all those, and we're going to highlight just where recruits are standing, what they're focusing on, what they're going through, what's to be expected. I'm going to keep you updated on where all those decisions are landing. Sometimes it'll be great news. Sometimes it'll be bad news. Sometimes it'll be no news. So we're every single Tuesday, Tracking Tuesday, we're going to talk about that. It's not going to be a scouting profile. We'll do specific episodes that are full scouting profiles of different prospects, different recruits. But this is just kind of a, hey, they're signed this place. Hey, they're going on a visit this week, that kind of stuff. So the first one we're going to talk about today we're going to talk about two prospects. One is bad news. One is if you didn't catch that was I don't know what that was, but you're welcome. The first one we're going to talk about, Cade Tyson. If you don't know who Cade Tyson is, if the name sounds familiar, it's because his older brother, Hunter Tyson, is a Clemson great, played for Clemson for many years, graduated, was drafted by the Denver Nuggets, and is now on the Denver Nuggets team, and is playing decent. He plays sometimes there. He's kind of bounced back and forth between G League, sitting on the bench. We have some minutes, but Cade, his younger brother, is a great player. Overall, Cade he's a really great player. He's played 2 years with Belmont. He's transferring in as a junior. As freshman year, he averaged 13 points with about 1 assist per game, and pretty decent stats, right? He shot about 41% from the three-point line, really good line, and 86% from the free throw. This past year, he bumped that up to now he was averaging 16 points per game. He was averaging almost over 1.5 assists per game. And then he was also shooting 46, almost 47% from the three, still shooting 86% from the free throw. This kid's a shooter. He's a shooter. He's a player. We were supposed to get him. When you look at Cade Tyson and the recruit that he is, when you look at his profile, his brother went to Clemson. He's transferring from Belmont, a smaller school, wanting to go to a larger profile school. There's no reason Clemson shouldn't have got him. There's absolutely no reason Clemson should not have signed Cade Tyson. There's no way. You got to know Hunter Tyson's going talking about the program. Hunter Tyson is still a huge advocate for Clemson. He goes to games still. He was at a couple different basketball games this year. He's a huge success story for Clemson. He played all 4 years there, got drafted, has a successful NBA career right now. He should be able to convince his brother. Clemson has the facilities. Brad Brunell should have been landing Cade Tyson. We should have him on our team right now. Instead, he signed with Chapel Hill. He signed and he is going to be a Tar Heel. That's disappointing. That's one that really makes you wonder. Like, I know we just talked a lot about the optimism of Brad, but how did we not land him? How did you not seal that recruit? I don't understand. Maybe he just didn't want to follow his brother's footsteps, but at the end of the day, his brother has a success story. His similar scouting profile coming out. His brother was maybe even a little bit more scouted coming out of high school, but I don't understand how you didn't land him. So Tracking Tuesday on Cade Tyson. He's going to Chapel Hill. We're going to be playing against him next year. Hopefully we make him regret not coming to Clemson. The next one, this one will be a quick one. This is one they haven't made a decision. We're just giving you one right now for the class of 2025. I know I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit. Not this coming year, not 2024, but the following year, 2025 for basketball. We have a lot of players that we're scouting, a lot of people that we're interested in. But right now, according to 24/7, our highest choice recruit right now is a guy by the name of Eric Ribe. He is a 7-foot point power forward. He's a 3-star recruit, 135th in the nation, 26th at his position, 5th in the state. He's a great player. Looking at it, he's got mobility. He can move with the ball. He can obviously play down low. He's 7'0", 235 pounds. My guess is he'd probably move over to the 5, but who knows in today's game age. He's from Maryland. He's going to be a great player. We have a high interest in him. Unfortunately, he has recently been crystal ball to Ohio State. Crystal ball is not always right. It's just a lot of time right. Let's hope that's wrong. Let's hope he changes his mind. Let's hope with the NIL, with the new society going on over at Clemson with NIL deals and fundraisings, that we could land him. That'd be a huge recruit. I'd love to see a 7-foot player come and play for Clemson in 2 years. Ian Schieffelin will probably be gone at that point, so great job. That'd be awesome filling in the paint over there. So it'd be awesome to land here. He is crystal ball to Ohio State. But those are 2 Tracking Tuesdays. Those are your updates on 2 different prospects, recruits, and potential players for Clemson later on. And with that, that is going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Clemson podcast. Tomorrow's episode, like we said, we're going to go into the opposite side of today. Today we're optimistic. Tomorrow we're going to go into more realistic, maybe a little pessimistic about some things, some games, some different details from this past season that Clemson basketball has to straighten up for the future. Hey, let me know your thoughts on today's topics. Reach out to me on Twitter over at I am John Bivens. You can find it if you're on YouTube. It's right here. I am John Bivens. Or you can email me if that's more you. Email, it's thetigerwire@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your feedback on what all we talked about today. If you haven't, make sure you're following and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening or watching this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, leave us a 5-star rating, do all the fun stuff. That way, every single day, you can get your first listen here on Locked On Clemson Podcast. We can't wait to see you all tomorrow on the next episode. But until then, keep that Tiger pride alive and roaring. And as always, go Tigers.